All right. Welcome to the Off the Rails Sports Podcast for April 17th. Wow, 2 days past tax day. How did we already get here? Easter's this Sunday. Wow. Where the heck is this year going? I know as you get older, you say that more and more, but man, I'm telling you. If you could, hit that like and subscribe button. It means a lot to us. We're going to do a recap on what was going on in the world of sports for Wednesday. Quite a bit. Yeah, we'll get to the basketball. Well, let's get to the basketball right now. Mavericks beat the Kings 120-106. They are still in the running to get into the playoffs. And I don't even know what happened to the Kings this year. That is just a train wreck on a train wreck. They had a year and a half left on the De'Aaron Fox contract, and they traded him to San Antonio midway through this season. I don't understand why they didn't write it out the rest of the year and just trade him in the summer. I mean, was Zach LaVine really that enticing for you? Doesn't seem to make a lot of sense for me, but that's Sacramento's problem. But the thing I really don't like is seeing Nico Harrison. He was kind of happy. I mean, I understand. He wants the team to win. I think he literally made the worst trade since the Red Sox trade Babe Ruth to the Yankees. And he's still doubling down on it. You know, he believes Anthony Davis. He believes that they are a viable contender. You know, obviously it's a lot harder without Kyrie Irving, especially if you have to go half of the year next year without him. I don't know what you do there. Good luck. I think Nico Harrison, man. I think really in a couple of years we're going to be saying don't pull a Nico when somebody makes a huge gaffe in the world of sports. Now they play Memphis for the right to get beat up by OKC. You ever seen those wildlife videos where the killer whale pulls the seal off the beach and then they want to teach their young how to hunt, so they take the seal out like half a mile, and then they literally just pulverize it. They jump up in the air, and they land on the seal to freeze it, and how to stun it, and the little ones, they're trying to tear part of it off. They really don't know how to kill, and it's just a train wreck. They're not even interested in eating because the meat's so pulverized, I guess. I don't know. But they just go out there and beat it up for a long time. That's what OKC is going to do to the winner of Memphis and Dallas. It's not going to be very good. Talking to another dumpster fire, let's talk about Miami playing Chicago. And Miami walked away with the 109-90 victory. And they get to play Atlanta for the right to play Cleveland. Now, I will say this. I think Cleveland's a lot more vulnerable than OKC. I think Cleveland is clearly better than either of those teams that are playing for the right to play them. But weird stuff. Cleveland, this could be a little, they could get a game. They really could. Maybe two. I don't know. I believe in Atlanta more than I believe in Miami, but whatever. In the feel-good sports moment of the day for Wednesday, and if you can't have tacos, you know, like Taco Tuesday, when Wednesday's just a dead day, man. I don't understand why fast food hasn't rallied around it, like Hamburger Wednesday. Isn't that what Wimpy used to say on Popeye? Oh, gladly pay you Wednesday for a hamburger today, you know. Maybe somebody ought to start getting that mantra. You know, fish and chips, something. Let's get something going here, right? Montreal had to win or an overtime loss to get into the playoffs over the Ottawa Senators. They accomplished that goal with a 4-2 win over Carolina. Kudos to them. I saw how happy the fans were. I like to see another Canadian team get into it. Obviously, if Montreal didn't get in, Ottawa's still a Canadian team. But, you know, it's been 32 years since they've won a cup. They were last in the NHL, I believe, on December 20-something, 25th, 28th, whatever. And, you know, we talk about American sports icon franchises, you know, the Yankees going through droughts, the Cowboys, the Lakers. You look at Canada, they haven't won a Stanley Cup since Montreal, I believe, in '93 against the Kings. That's a long drought. That is a long drought for a nation that is as prideful as they are about their hockey. I mean, it's like baseball to us, right? Or basketball. I don't know. Kudos to them. I'm happy for them. Scott and I did a podcast today, and I think the NHL playoffs are the best of any major sport. And the reason is because I really do think legitimately an 8 seed can beat a 1 seed. I don't believe that can happen in basketball. No. I mean, maybe somebody will take a game from Cleveland, but yeah, that's about it. Yeah, I know it happens rarely, occasionally, but it's about as frequent as Halley's Comet coming through, right? And I like that. I don't see Montreal beating Washington, but if it happened, I'd go, wow, that is a surprise, but it's not a shock. I just have this funny feeling. I mean, Washington's really getting a nice path to the Eastern Finals, but I don't know, just something strikes me as a little off. Kind of like if you watch the videos, I talk about Scotty Scheffler. He seemed like a little off going into the Masters. Xander Schauffele, a little off. Full disclosure, I didn't pick Rory. I picked Colin Morikawa. I think he's still out there swinging. I think he's getting a JT score of like 120, right? And, but sometimes you look at the political, the sports, avenue that they're in, and you go, yeah, just something doesn't seem right. And, we live in an era where stats on stats on stats. I mean, that's one thing I really enjoy about Brian and Scott is they know what they're talking about, but they don't overwhelm you with stats. I'm listening to Bill Simmons. I'm listening to Ryan Russillo, and Jesus, man, I don't need stats. If I want stats like that, I'll go to my accountant. And we'll replay my W-2, as we do the taxes. Oh, this number, that number. I don't need to see the accountant part 3, okay, when I'm talking about sports. Tell me what's going on. Tell me what your eyes say. Okay? Sometimes they just tell you the truth. Okay, I understand stats matter. I'm not arguing, especially if you gamble. I'm not saying that. But there has to be something that corresponds with what the stat says with your eyes. Like there's times in football, I'll give you an example. I'll give you a perfect example. I took a future on OKC to win the title. I got them at 5-1 at the beginning of the year. And last month, I went up, maybe a month and a half ago, I went up, and there's something that really surprises me about the association. Houston is the number 2 seed in the West. The West is stacked. It is, you could take the top 4 teams, and they're going to be better than maybe the top 6. They're going to be better than anybody but Boston in the East. I don't really care what Cleveland's record is. I'm sorry, I don't care. And I was looking at Houston, and their odds are they're going through the roof. They're like the price of gold. Like, they were 40-1. I just saw them last week in Vegas. No, I don't have a gambling problem. And I just saw them. They were 90-1 to win the title. And I'm thinking they're the number 2 seed. Like, they've got 2 series guaranteed with home court advantage. Like, I see the stats. The stats are pretty impressive, but obviously it's not corresponding to what Vegas is seeing. And look, understand this. If you ever gamble and you make a bet and you don't see any way that bet can lose, you're missing something. Now, I'm not saying you can't be confident in a bet. I'm not saying that at all. But I've had these moments where, let's just take football. Like, okay, the Rams are going to crush them. The Rams are going to crush them. And the line is pick them. And you're like, wow, what's that about? Wow, that's a steal of the century. I get that they do make lines that are incorrect sometimes. I get it. And, maybe you have some insight, or maybe you follow the team maybe a little more, or whatever. But if you sit there and say they're messed up that bad, I can go all in. You're missing something. If you don't find the one thing you're missing, be very, very careful about betting. Because like me, if I really like a bet, okay, I'm not going to bet my entire bankroll on it, okay? But I have to figure out, why does this look so appealing to me? Okay, I got my reasons, 2, 3, whatever. But what's the side? Why is somebody going to bet on the other side? And if you don't see that, you better figure it out. You better listen to something, because believe me, there's a reason. They're not taking the action on all one side. There's people betting the other side. If you don't understand what that is, be careful. That's all I'm saying. Just be careful. All right. Let's go into baseball. Love baseball. We're going to have a nice podcast today with Brother Brian. I tell you what, I'm going to learn a lot from that kid. God, man, he is just, him and Scott. I'm so lucky to be able to do these things with them. All right. Blue Jays beat the Braves 3-1. Strider came back. God bless him. Fastest pitcher, starting pitcher to 500 strikeouts. It's nice to see him back. He did really, really well. Unfortunately, the Braves didn't get it done. Chris Bassett on the knob for the Blue Jays. Look at this. He's 2-0 with a .77 ERA. Guy's having a phenomenal year. And I said at the beginning of the year with Brian that I thought the Blue Jays had the best starting rotation in the AL East, and maybe the second best in the American League behind Seattle. I think I might be right. 4-1. Brewers at home beat the Tigers 5-1. Jose Quintana 2-0 with a .71 ERA. Very, very impressive. Both those teams, it's just right around 500. 10-9 for the Brewers, 10-8 for the Tigers. The Twins pulled out a walk-off win against the Mets, 4-3 and 10. Nothing really there, whatever. Mets are still 11-7. Twins, 5 games under 500 at 7-12. The Cardinals pulled off a 4-1 victory over the Astros, and I got to be honest with you, the Astros just don't look good to me. They don't. I know they lost Kyle Tucker. That was a big mistake. Going to talk to Brian about that. But Matt's on the hill for the Cardinals. 1-0 with a 2.16 ERA. Cardinals are 9-9, 500. Astros are 8-10. Padres played the Cubs. Good game. 2 really, really strong contenders. Padres came away with the 4-2 win. They are 12-1 at home. Wow, talk about a chalk favorite. Jesus criminy. Nick Pivetta, free agent signing, 3-1 with a 1.57 ERA so far for the Padres. That division is amazing. Brian called it at the beginning of the year that was going to be the toughest division. I didn't believe in the Giants. I thought the other team was going to be Arizona, and they still might get there. I'm not ESPN where I'm like, oh, this is a crucial week 3 game in baseball. No. And like Brian said, he said, look, if these losing streaks like the Braves, 5-13, if this happened in the middle of the year, they go, it's just the midseason slump. Whatever. Yeah, he's right. He always puts it in perspective. That's why I love talking to him. The Orioles beat the Guardians 9-1. D-backs starting to move around, 11-7. They won 6-2 against the Marlins. Marlins are starting to fade a little. Mariners 5-3 over the Reds. Mariners finally get to 500. And we had a big brawl in the Pirates-Nationals game. The Pirates won 6-1. Mitchell Parker took the loss for Washington. But man, that kid's been pitching really lights out. If you haven't noticed, 2-1 with a 1.85 ERA. Giants got back on the winning track, 11-4 against the Phillies. Red Sox, who boy, I want you to listen real carefully. Won a 1-0 game at Tampa Bay. Wow. Wisser for the Red Sox, 1-0 with a 2.08. Well, it was a tough game. We're finally 10-10. We finally got to 500. Hallelujah. Break up the Red Sox. Looks like the Yankees beat the Royals again, 4-3. Yankees 11-7, 8-4 at home. Athletics beat the White Sox 3-1. The White Sox, and I know I'm going to get ostracized and criticized for it, they just look better than the 4-13. I know. Your record is still your record. I'm not arguing that, but I'm telling you right now, I've watched a couple of their games. They're competitive. Maybe, I really think they're going to get to 60 wins, but it sure doesn't look like it from the record. The Rangers, 8-1 at home, beat the Angels 3-1. Angels are still competitive. Brian liked them at the beginning of the year, not to win the World Series or even get into the playoffs, but he said they were going to be extremely competitive, and he was right. I laughed at it. Well, once again, Brian's right. I'm getting tired of Brian being so right. The Dodgers won the series, won the second game against the Rockies, barely though, 8-7. Tim Scott got the save. Dodgers, they're just coming. We're going to see. I mean, they're third place in the division, but they're still 14-6. Impressive, that's for sure. All right, that's all we got for today. If you like, please do hit that like and subscribe and leave some comments. I always appreciate it. I got quite a few the other day from my master's comments on the CBS, and a lot of people were hating. But that's it for today, and we'll see you tomorrow.